construction claims and disputes. I want to first talk about the beginning of the dispute, claims, then litigation, then alternative dispute resolution, and then last I want to end with some proactive steps to avoid disputes. For claims, claims are the first step in the resolution process where the problem is recognized. Usually claims result from disagreements on the meanings of the contract. Some examples of claims are late progress payments, delays caused by the owner, and rejection of work by the designer or owner. In this picture, here's some conflict arising from the contractor and the architect over their intent. And then in the contract, it requires the contractor to notify the owner of claims within a certain time. It will be specified by the contract. And then the contractor is required to rely on the claims process for fair recovery. The contractor cannot refuse to do work as long as it's within the original scope of work after the claim's been put forth. And then the contract specifies the process that needs to be taken in order to file a claim. The first and most often way to resolve conflicts are litigation. Litigation is resolving disputes through the court system. It's the dominant means of resolving claims, even though it is recognized as the most expensive and time-demanding method. Alternative dispute resolution is becoming more popular due to the negatives of going through the litigation process. Some common methods of ADR are partnering, mediation, arbitration, mini-trials, and project neutral. Partnering is a method based on trust between the different parties. Partnering meetings are held before the project starts to develop trust. Before the project starts to develop trust between the owner and contractor through identifying common goals and objectives. A charter is written and signed in which the parties must operate in an atmosphere of trust. A dispute framework is also laid in place before the project even starts during partnering. Monthly partnering meetings are held to evaluate the process. All meetings are chaired by an outside facilitator to create a level playing field. Mediation is where a neutral third party helps the parties meet a mutual agreement. The mediator does not pose a settlement on either parties. There is nothing binding the mediation process. It is usually the last step people take before they begin litigation. Arbitration is like mediation, but with some court or legality to the form. It isn't a form of litigation because both parties agree to accept the arbitrator's solution before the process is started. But it's better than litigation because the arbitrator, who's the one conducting the solution, usually has experience in the construction field, so the solution that he reaches is better than a court judge who has no experience in the construction field. Here's a good table that easily shows you the differences between mediation, arbitration, and litigation. Some main points I wanted to point out are the control of the situation between the three. In mediation, parties negotiate and determine the results, while in arbitration, an arbitrator controls the outcome. And in litigation, judges and juries control outcome. Now, the most important differences are cost and duration. Mediation can take days, arbitration takes months, and litigation can take years to solve a dispute. While the cost also shows that mediation is the least, arbitration is more, and then the most is litigation. And then another important aspect is the impact on the parties. In mediation, it can preserve existing relationships, while arbitration and litigation, it's more adversarial and the people will become enemies afterwards. Here's a good clip that also shows what mediation is.
It's not of your making, it's made to look like a clown. Objection! Objection! You don't want to settle. You want to sue the for everything he's got. Well, I do have school fees to pay, you know. I'll sue both of you.
All right, that's mediation. And then two other forms of alternative dispute resolution are mini trials and project neutral. Mini trials allow each side to present its position in the dispute, and then the judge renders a decision. It's supposed to be a simple and speedy litigation process, but it hasn't worked yet because both sides escalate proceedings into just full-blown litigation because they're both trying to win the case. So it's not working out so good. Then project neutral is the newest approach to ADR, where there's a third person in the mix or a team that acts as a referee between the parties. The difference between having this project neutral than arbitrator or mediator is that the project neutral is involved throughout the whole project. He doesn't just come along like when there's a problem or a possible dispute. And since the project neutral is on board the whole time during the project, he knows what's going on and can solve the disputes faster. He can also prevent potential problems from arising. Some proactive steps to avoiding disputes are communication, and more communication. Poor communication is often the cause of conflicts or lead to conflicts getting even bigger. Some ways to improve poor communication are have regular meetings discussing major milestones in the project coming up. Regularly make sure everyone is on the same page. Be proactive and voice concerns when it comes to problem areas that might come up. Another way to be proactive is documentation. Thorough documentation of the project can not only prevent claims from becoming a problem, but can also win you the case if it came down to litigation. Some examples of thorough documentation are meeting minutes, records of telephone conversations, project photographs of work done, daily project logs, and accounting records. And then in conclusion, I just want to give some pros and cons to litigation versus alternative dispute resolution. The pros to litigation are it allows certain procedural safeguards, can more easily appeal a decision, and the cons are it's costly and time consuming. The pros to alternative dispute resolution are it's less expensive, can resolve the dispute relatively quickly, and it's more civil, which can still keep working ties between the two parties. The con is in some cases it can't be used. In some contracts it doesn't allow for alternative dispute resolution to take place. And here's another form of how mediation can...
Just remember now, upturn a bank.
Gotta bleep out this little section. How mediation can help even the worst cases.
An idea.
You know what, Ken? The bad idea would be to let your client walk out of here today and drag this thing out for another year, wasting more time and wasting more money. The only good idea is to let me and John do our job and mediate this thing right here.
You want to hear the crazy thing? I know it doesn't feel like it, but we're making progress. We settled the deal with the cars. Let's say it takes us to frequent flyer miles. We're flying.
I want them.
You know what we're going to do? We're going to split them right down the middle. How'd that be, Mr. Grover?
It would be not good at all. I earned those miles.
Yeah, you earned them flying to Denver to meet your whore.
She's not afraid to express herself sexually, if that's what you mean.
She is a stripper, for God's sake.
She is not.
Her name is Chastity. She is white trash.
As you can see, some
Same as
cases
you.
can get out of hand.
Hillbilly.
That's it. Go comatose for me, baby.
You shut your mouth when you're talking to me.
This is getting confusing. You didn't always hate each other. There had to be some nice moments during the courtship, maybe? Or the wedding?
The wedding had to be fun.
You get the decorations, families coming together. That's a nice moment. What'd you have to eat?
Crab cakes.
Are you kidding me? Crab cakes. We don't have a good time eating crab cakes. I love them.
And you got a band? Did you have a band? Good or bad?
Who gives a shit? It's a great band. It's a bad band. It's like pizza, baby. It's gonna matter. There's music in the air.
Shout,
Yeah. Oh. Shout now. Jump up and shout now. It's a good time. You know what I mean?
All we're trying to say is, put your swords away for a second. Let's finish this and let's move on.
Could you give her a glass of water so she can take that?
Hey, John. That's weird. That glass looks half full to me.
Wow, now that you mention it, it is half full.
I can have the miles.
Sweetie, you take the miles.
Great, great. Let's sign the paperwork and we are done.
These are just semantics. If you guys want to throw a couple miles at us, we'll take a couple. The big thing is that we're all moving on.
You're just not talking anymore.
And as you can see there, those are the advantages of alternative dispute resolution over litigation. Thank you for your time, and that's my presentation. Any questions?
All right, thank you.